has any questions or comments, they can email Sue Lassard at slassard@bucksportmaine.gov or call 469-7368. Roll call, Jake?
Councillor Eastman?
Here.
Councillor Morrison?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Bissonnette?
Here.
Mayor Stewart?
Here.
Councillor Ormsby?
Here.
Councillor Downs?
Here.
Councillor Rankin?
Here.
Item 3 is presentation of council recognitions. I don't believe we have any. The next item is town council minutes for 2/11/2021. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Jake?
Councillor Eastman?
Approve.
Councillor Morrison?
Approve.
Deputy Mayor Bissonnette? Mayor Stewart?
Approve.
Councillor Ormsby?
Approve.
Councillor Downs?
Approve.
Councillor Rankin?
Approved.
Next item is Orland Police Call from 2/11/2021. Anybody have any questions on that? Item 6 is ordinances to consider or introduce. Don't believe we have any of those tonight. Item 7 is discussion items. The first is Ballfield Wall Committee update. Ed?
Yeah, the committee met to discuss just the goal we want to go in and suggest to the council. Because Rich is on a deadline by May to get that grant, which would be a 50% match. Some input from Director Gagan is something we need to keep in mind is parking. If we're going to do all this work, whether we allow parking up there, or I don't even know if we can, with depending on how it's engineered, if there's guardrails. But there's very limited parking, especially if there's a big game going on and people at Ian's playground. So we may want to incorporate that in this project on the engineering side. Dave Keene suggested, and we kind of found as a committee we'd like to push to the council to ask for an engineer to possibly do some soil testing and kind of the whole project, to get some engineering input of what options we have to do the wall, to do it correctly so this doesn't happen again. Dave also had mentioned that years ago that there was some money to push the backstop back. But as Mayor Stewart pointed out, that we also need to keep in mind that your first base and third base lines are going to be spread back towards the fences, which is towards the playground and towards Bill Redmond's property. So we need to keep that in mind as well. But basically all we're asking for the council for is to get an engineer to meet with the wall committee so we can discuss the options as a committee and then present it to the council.
Comments? So would we do an RFP for an engineer on this, or obviously an engineer I can't imagine is going to come talk to us for free, are they?
No, I'm sure they wouldn't. What you have tended to do for questions of engineering is to use Alder Engineering as a firm. They have a number of different engineers with different specialties that, we've had them that occurred for sewer and that kind of work, and structural and landscape. There's a number. The town has for some time used Alder, depending on whatever kind of engineering that it needed. We have not gone out to bid on engineering to do engineering. We've gone out to bid to do projects designed by engineers, but for the majority, there's another engineer that would be used for the marina projects that has traditionally done all the work related to the waterfront work. it's up to the council if you wish to seek RFPs for that, that's fine. But generally that's not what we do because Alva has a number of different engineers that can do different things, then we've used them.
And where would the funds from this come? Is this from undesignated or is there a
This
fund
would
out
come
there?
from the recreation reserve. It's a recreation field that we're talking about here.
Mr. Mayor, I believe Rich did say that if we did do the grant, some of that grant money could, recoup the research and development of this project.
Well, I know. Listen, and I guess I'll make a suggestion. That we have town manager contact a engineering firm to come and meet up with the wall committee sometime in the next couple of weeks, maybe before the next. If we set a meeting for the next council meeting, because like Rich said, he does have to get this going. So. Anybody have any concerns with that, or is that okay?
I'm all for it.
Sounds good.
We may have to push this off though until the following meeting after that, because I think we'll need a resolve to spend some money. So Sue, was that germane to this, or?
Yes, that was a resident who was talking about water issues in the area that we're talking about that impact this this field and others that in that neighborhood that sometimes you can hear water running under the ground. So the concern over drainage and water continues in terms of the project. That's what that call was in regard to.
Okay, and I think that was, Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that was part of your guys' charge was to check drainage and everything to make sure this doesn't happen again, to see if there is any drainage in there, correct?
Yes.
So Sue, I don't know if you heard. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Danny.
So as part of that, knowing that with that call and the drainage there, we're looking at the whole road coming down, or is it just near that section? Because we're coming all the way down towards here. Like even my house, we have water pooling up down in the bottom part of our yard. So we're looking at the road that goes all the way up through, or are we just looking near the field?
I believe the assessment of the runoff that impacted the field itself extended up McDonald Street. It's what's above it as well in order to reroute it. But that said, that doesn't mean that there aren't other water issues other than McDonald Street that.
Yeah. And I wasn't just thinking of my property, but I mean the neighbors up here, the Redmonds, up extending up through this way and down that way. There's water that is all along that and it pulls up. So.
I apologize, but I missed what you said you were going to do.
Yeah, so I think the pleasure of the council is to go out and get an engineer. My question was, do we need to have that as resolved next week to be able to spend the money on that and then invite them to a baseball committee thereafter?
Are you going, if you want me to do an RFP to get an engineer, I can do that without a resolve, and then you have to vote on which one to pick once the RFP has been out. If you're going to use our traditional engineering firm, Oliver, then I would have to put a resolve on the next meeting to expend funds for that. One can happen next week. One would probably be the beginning of next month because we'd have to put out the request for the RFP.
Sure. Thoughts, folks?
My thoughts are if we're looking to get a grant for this in May, and Rich is going to have it by May, the sooner the better on getting our our engineers in place so that we can get that looked at.
I agree with Councilman Ormsby.
I lost you on that one, Paul. You agreed also, you said?
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, I agree with Dan.
All right. Jimmy?
I just think that getting the grant is really not something that hinges on what the whether or not there's engineers in place. I think that getting the grant is something he has to apply for before May. I think that the engineering thing should come after that. We know that we want to do it one way or the other. I would think that the grant would already be something we're going to be applied for anyway.
I thought he said he needed a dollar amount, though, in order to apply for the grant. And
Yes.
to get that, I think we needed to have the engineering study. Is Rich on with us, or?
Is not.
Okay. Am I mistaken on that, Ed, or anybody else that was in the meeting? I was thinking that was what I heard.
Yeah, I don't think he needs
That's what I heard.
I don't think he needs an absolute price, but he needs to know what's going to be involved in an estimated, price in the ballpark.
Okay.
And that
So
requires some idea of what it is you're going to do.
Right.
Right.
So is what I'm seeing is the thought of the council to go with the quickest route, which I believe the quickest route is get a resolve to expend some funds at our next meeting and then bring in Oliver in the prior meeting after that.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay.
There isn't any reason if you wanted to do that meeting that the Ballfield Wall Committee, which is who's going to meet, couldn't meet before the next council meeting. I mean, if it was approved in 2 weeks, they could meet anytime, depending on how quickly
Right.
you want to
Right.
move this forward.
Yep. Okay. All right. I think there's some direction there. Thanks. Was that it on that? That was it, Ed, on that, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Next item was the spring fountain update.
The paperwork to serve the owners and mortgage holders of the spring fountain has been prepared, and our attorneys are in the process of seeking service of that. I want to extend heartfelt thanks to Home and their staff who has gone to the spring fountain and done a door-to-door knocking to get an assessment of how many people we're talking about, what their circumstances are, how many can self-solve if this meeting have resources to relocate, how many don't. They provided 30 boxes of food because some people there can't get food because they don't have rent receipts to prove that they have a residency, and they've helped 3 people already find alternate housing. So our partnership with them has been very advantageous. They have the ability and the training to do these kind of assessments and have stepped up to do that and working on it moving forward. And we've also been contacted by the mortgage holders of the facility, and Lucas has provided them with a good deal of information. So we're still in the process of our biggest concern is ensuring that in this transition and during this time that the people that are there are safe and that they find alternatives if that dangerous designation is accepted. I don't know if that Public Safety Director Gagan has any additional information on this, but that's where we stand right now with that process.
Thanks. Any questions, comments? Sean, did you have anything?
Just to reiterate what the town manager said, the team effort with Home has been outstanding, and She has been in contact with me every weekend before they do things there to make sure that it's kosher and safe to do things. We've been relaying back and forth the right and wrong ways to do things, and they have truly been outstanding and relocated people as far as Presque Isle with full-time jobs, and so it's going very well at this point. And I again reiterate what the town manager said and thank them for their partnership for sure.
Quick question, and I don't know if there's an answer, if we can answer this, if there's anything we can do. So we've moved 4 families or 4 folks out of there. Is there anything stopping other people moving in there?
At this
No.
point, I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
But most everyone is aware of what's happening. I mean, we've had a good deal of media attention on this, both in the print media and on TV and that kind of thing. So I think that it's fairly well known that a hearing's coming up in April in order to determine the future of this facility.
Okay, thanks. Anything else from anybody? Next item is 1861 State Route 46 foreclosure.
I had provided you with letters from the listed owners of State Route 1861 State Route 46. Keith French had contacted me prior to and said that he's actually not an owner, that he, as part of a divorce action, turned the property over to his now ex-wife, but they didn't record that change at the registry. So for our purposes, they're both still listed as record owners. But anyway, both Keith and Betty submitted letters. Last time they weren't agended, they were copied, and you had asked me to put this on the agenda for this time to see if the council still was in the same place with the town moving forward with this foreclosure or not.
Anybody have any updated comments or concerns?
Mr. Mayor, just a quick one. Has there been any improvement to that property since we last met, or since any of this has transpired?
Sue, do you know that?
We've had calls that from people who said that things were going to happen if the foreclosure didn't happen, that some of the cars had been moved. Our code enforcement officer last week informed me that there had not been an improvement and that his intention was to set up an inspection. So as of last week, not enough so that our code officer considered it improved.
Thanks. Anybody else?
Is there
Yeah.
children living in the house? Do I, my understanding?
Yes.
That's tough.
Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Yep.
This is a tough spot where this is, not the first time. But if we're going to do this, if we do agree to do this, to give them more time, I think we need to set a hard date on this needs to be done by this date, or that's it. That's the end of the line.
So the process that we're in now, how long is it going to, it's going to take a while, isn't it, Sue, for this to run its course? And I would suggest that the last time we did this was 3+ years ago with the same sort of heartfelt letters and communication and the promises of doing things. And we've seen nothing. There is time to do some stuff now while this is working its way through, and I suggest that we see if anything gets done. That to me will be sort of the proof of what their thought process is.
Well, it's never an easy decision, but I'm inclined to agree with the mayor. I think, we've seen a number of properties that we've been more than generous, and I know we need to treat every situation differently, but at the same time, there's a greater responsibility than to just the property owners at this point. And I also think that this council and previous incarnations of this council, from what the mayor is saying, have been more than generous when it comes to time, et cetera. So I'm not saying it's an easy decision, but I do agree with the mayor.
Anybody else? Jimmy?
My only concern would be any safety issues for the children and any other occupants of the home.
Yeah. Like I say, I think there is time for the folks to get some stuff done to show some progress. This council and like Paul says, in every iteration I've been involved with, has always erred on the side of, you show us some progress and we will do all we can to help you. But a lot of times we don't ask for a lot. So I think if the time is now, they've sent us some letters saying that they can do some stuff. Please show us, is where I'm at.
I agree.
Yeah, that's fair.
I have to mention that they're not the only ones involved on that property, because abutters and neighbors who are concerned about their property values and etc. All those kind of things and we've been down this road before too, because the last time the neighbors were more than unhappy at the state of the property, and so I none of this is easy, but I really think that our next step is I am going to ask our code officer to do an inspection and give me a report, and we'll see where we are with all of that in order to. The owners have admitted that there's not a functioning, there's a 55-gallon drum buried as opposed to a septic system. And that what we were told last time we went through this wasn't accurate. So anyway, I will get you more information and we'll go from there.
Thank you. Next item is ambulance fees, no transport.
This is on, the ambulance responds when people call, and sometimes it is simply because someone has fallen and they need assistance getting back up. And sometimes it's an assessment. Is Deputy Chief Denning on this call? Anyway, thank you. I'll let him speak in just a second. Our billing system doesn't recognize the difference between, our rate system doesn't recognize the difference between someone that we take somewhere and someone that we don't take somewhere, except for mileage. The cost of the call, going out the door to go somewhere, that base rate stays pretty much the same, and then you add on additional services. But the cost to us for just going and picking somebody else and putting them on their feet or doing a quick assessment is substantially less. And that number of calls is rising. They're generally not covered by insurance, and certainly not by state insurance. So I'm wondering if the council would be willing to consider establishing a rate for these no transports that are shorter time limits, all that kind of stuff. And Deputy Chief Denning has some statistics and that kind of thing that relate to this. But before I asked for a rate change, I thought I would talk to the council and have our Deputy Chief talk to them about sort of what these calls are and how we might make it, for me, what would seem a more equitable charge than what we currently do.
Michael?
Good evening. So what we're proposing on these are lift assists, and we're responding to these at least 4 to 7 calls a week just for lift assist. The patients aren't hurt, they just need help getting onto their feet. We've looked at these fees, and as of right now, that type of a call, when we go, the base rate is $313. We might not only be there for 5 or 10 minutes, and we check the patient and we clear the scene. So I'm proposing maybe something $100, $150, somewhere in that range. I think that would cover our costs, and it's not so expensive to some of these people whose health insurance, some of them won't pay for those calls. So I just think that's fair, and it doesn't put so much burden on some of these people. Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks. Comments? Danny?
I'm all for that. I think that it makes sense. I can't see charging someone $300+ for 15 minutes to help them with something that they need, and I think that's the glorious part about our fire and police department and the things that we have in town. So I'm all for it, and I think they'll lower that fee, the better.
Anybody else? Jimmy?
I'm
Oh, I'm
also,
sorry. Yeah.
I'm also
Kathy, go ahead.
for it. But what are the statistics as far as the age group on that, Mike? Is it a certain age group or no?
Well, a lot of the calls are elderly people.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But there are also people who are handicapped as well. But the majority, Kathy, are elderly on fixed incomes.
Yeah, that's what I was really concerned with. Yeah, thanks.
Jimmy?
Presently, what does the ambulance have for expenditures versus revenues? Are you making a lot more revenues than your expenditures right now, or how is that going?
I'm going to defer that to Sue.
The combination, we combined the budgets last year, so the ambulance fees that we receive cover approximately $550,000 of our total expenditure, which is over $600,000 for the entire fire and ambulance. But the fee piece is about $550,000. The reduction in these fees wouldn't have an overwhelming impact on our revenues. The numbers are climbing, but at $5 a week, basically cutting these fees in half would not have, on that $550,000 piece, that significant an impact.
I ask because I think that something like this should be a service to the people of the town rather than something they spend even $1 on.
I'm going to agree with Jim on this. There are times when there are right things to do. We are asking folks you know, especially during these times, to give up a lot of things. And you know, there are services that we are. I would rather provide services and cut back on some of the other things that we have than look at trying to provide something else when we're not giving the service we have. We are the old, you know, to Kathy's point, the statistics. We are an older community, and part of our charge should be to take care of these folks. And if it's not going to, I don't see where it's caused us a huge burden. I can appreciate, Mike, that it's increasing some, but again, I think that's what we're here for. You know, we talk about fees all the time, and fees are nothing more than taxes. You know, and we're always looking at trying to cut things out, and you know, whether we're talking out to the transfer station, whether we're talking permits for town businesses and things like that, we always come back to fees, and this to me is just another fee that, you know, even if it's minuscule, is still going to hurt some folks. And I would be against this right now.
I agree.
I'm not disagreeing that the issue that we have with billing for ambulance is that we accept payments from Medicare and from that, and the rules are that if you bill anyone, you bill everyone.
Yeah.
And so our control in this is the rate you set, not whether, because if you say we're not going to bill seniors for lift assist, that's inequitable, and we stand to be, and I only know this because I inherited this situation in another community that wasn't billing everybody, and the federal and state providers, that's not the rules. If you're going to bill, you bill. So what you do is set a rate that anybody that it happened to would have to pay, and you can make that rate $25 or whatever you want to set it at, but not billing some things and billing other things it isn't rules. We don't make those rules. If we accept funding from these places for payments, we have to go by the rules they set, which is if you bill everybody. You don't pick and choose who you bill. If that do you understand what I'm saying? It's that your control in not having a negative impact is to set a fee that's. But everybody gets it.
So is it not true that when we, at the end of the year, we sign off on a bunch of unpaid bills, is that also part of this too?
Could I say something really quickly?
Yeah.
Just in the work that I do, that the town manager is absolutely correct. And so, without saying too much, without bringing too much of my work into this, imagine, for example, because we're dealing with Medicare, that we're a doctor's office instead of a town. The doctor's office can't, as much as they want to, and I can give you a number of reasons why they might want to do this, they can't do what we're proposing doing right now, saying that we're going to charge this patient that gets Medicare this amount for a fee, and then charge this patient a different, or not charge them. You can't do it. There would be a number of reasons why, especially, for example, a small doctor's office would want to do that, because collecting the fees are royal pain in some instances. So they could have a number of reasons why they might want to do it. But I know it's maybe not the best analogy, but just from my line of work, I know that to be the case, and have advised people quite specifically why they can't do that.
Danny?
Sorry, Mike, not to complicate this, but don't doctors' offices have a fee rate for the amount of time? And so it's a short visit, it's a medium extended visit, it's a, is that something that's logical to do in this situation, so that we can have a minimum rate for a minimum amount of time and
That's exactly what they do. Yep.
Right,
You,
I was, oh, I'm sorry.
no, I was just gonna say I am with you too, Peter. When it comes to like, I would love to be able to do that, but I see the other point too, where we have to have some sort of free rate to.
Right, the whole idea of it was just something to cover our costs for the personnel and the ambulance and kind of break even on it, good to go.
So Mike, I'm not worried about breaking even. This is one of those things that I'm not worried about breaking even. I'm probably, that's not the right thing to say at times when we're dealing with town funds. But there are things that we look at. I think to Jim's point, there are services that we need to provide, and I'm wondering if it's a nominal thing like we do, and this is a crappy analogy, but for permitting a new business, we've dropped it down to $5. Does it just have to be a nominal fee? Where as long as we have something in there, and then we can go to Representative Downs to have her get this arcane rule changed at the state level.
But Sue, can I ask really quickly, because I'm not sure on this, if we charge that rate to send the ambulance out for just this type of instant, to just send the ambulance out, we can charge a different rate though if the ambulance goes for a different reason and then add the mileage and everything else to it. Or do we have to charge
If we
that?
say
Is that
that
rate?
lift assists are
Got it. Yeah.
$20,
That's right. Yep.
period, or whatever you decide to is the right number.
Because it's a
And
specific.
it doesn't matter if you're 2 or you're 100.
Yep.
That's all they do is a lift assist. But if they stabilize you and
Then it's a different.
do your blood glucose because there's additional services, but if it's I've fallen, I can't get up, then it's
Yep.
a different
I should have known
matter.
that. It's setting the fee schedule. Yep.
In defense of we have traditionally looked at that side of the house, fire EMS, and the amount of fees that were generated to cover that service. And I think when the proposal was made to just cover the costs of the hourly time and the cost of the rig to go out and do this and come back, that's why he was suggesting the.
And again, I'm not beating up Mike. He's got a different charge. I think it's on us to figure out what we need to what we want to prioritize as far as what we want for services and what we want to take care of. So yeah, Mike, I'm not beating you up at all. Please trust me on that.
No.
So.
But I guess that if you're willing to listen to this, we'll come back to you with a proposal that you could look at that with a very minimal fee that discreetly describes the service that we're talking about. With that,
Jimmy, do you have something else?
Yeah, the closer it is to $5, the happier I'd be.
I understand this message.
All right. Does that give you guys an idea where we think we stay? And I'm not gonna. I don't want to speak for everybody else on the council. You heard where Jim and I stand. I think. Is everybody else okay with Sue going back and rejiggering this to look at something? Okay. All right. Thanks.
To know where you were in terms of this as a topic, because it has, it's.
Well, and I appreciate you asking us and not just setting a fee, which I knew you wouldn't do anyway, but.
I can't.
I know. All right. So yeah, we'll expect something. We'll look at something next time and figure out what we want to do with it. Item 8 is agenda items. Resolve 2021-46 to approve acceptance of a 2021 volunteer fire assistance grant in the amount of $21.96.27. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Mike?
Over the past years, we've been very successful on getting this type of grant through the state. This year, it has been a record-breaking year, according to them, 102 applications with very limited funding. So Captain Connor is our grant writer, so I believe this is his second one in a row that he's got for us, so kudos to him. And this is a matching grant. and it does help quite a bit to get these, so thank you for
And the
your,
equipment you're asking for replacement, is that stuff that you need? I assume it's not just fluff.
no, this is stuff we're replacing, two radios that are, I think, 12 or 14 years old, so we cycle them through, so.
Anybody else from the council have anything? Jake?
Counselor Eastman,
Approve.
Counselor Morrison,
Approve.
Deputy Mayor Bissonnette,
Approve.
Mayor Stewart,
Approve.
Counselor Ormsby,
Approve.
Counselor Downs,
Approve.
and Counselor Rankin.
Approve.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Thank Chris for us also, please. Next item is Resolve 2021-42 to approve the naming of the auditorium at the Bucksport Performing Arts Center, the Peter D. Klain Auditorium. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? I think this satisfies what we were talking about the last one. Everybody happy with that? And I assume that the committee was okay with that, Paul, too? Did you guys talk about this? Or?
We haven't had another committee meeting, but I emailed everyone and I didn't get any responses back. But except from the superintendent of schools who understood what the issue was, and it was approved unanimously at the school board meeting on Tuesday night.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything else from the council? Jake?
Counselor Eastman,
Approve.
Counselor Morrison,
Approve.
Deputy Mayor Bissonnette,
Approve.
Mayor Stewart,
Approve.
Counselor Ormsby,
Approved.
Counselor Downs,
Approve.
Counselor Rankin.
Approve.
Item 9 is resignations, appointments, assignments, and elections. I don't believe we have anything. 10 is approval of quick claims, discharges, and deeds. I don't believe we have any of those. Town manager report, item 11.
Thank you. On your next agenda, I'll be proposing that the town apply for a grant for a K-9 for the police department. I have spoken with both Public Safety Director Gagan and Deputy Chief Winchester, and they will be presenting this at the March 11th meeting. I've been asked to participate in an interview with the University of Maine Mitchell Center Materials Management Program in regard to a project they were working on. It centers around solid waste and recycling and the overall handling of waste materials in Maine. That interview should not take more than an hour. I've received most all of the department budgets, met with some department heads, and will be meeting with the others next week to review their requests and then compiling the total document for the council. I'm pleased to report that Gardner Commons, Knoxview, and Bucksport Square apartments have had vaccination clinics through the Maine Public Health Nursing Group as of today. And I want to thank Public Health Nursing for setting those clinics up, and Town Public Safety staff Lily McCoy from Bucksport Bay Healthy Communities Coalition and Senior Center Director Bill Foster for their work in helping to make these happen. And on the bright side, spring is 23 days away.
Thanks. Any questions? Next item is public hearings or hold public hearings or approve any licenses. I don't believe we have any of those tonight. Discussion items not on the agenda. Anybody from the council have anything you want to talk about that's not on the agenda? Ed? I see hands everywhere. We'll start with Ed.
Yeah, do we have, is Chief Winchester with us tonight? I can't see. Okay, there he is.
Yes, sir.
David, quick, just, I was talking to Matt at the town garage the other day, and with the new vehicles getting so, the technology is getting way beyond in the past 10 years. It's changed a lot. The next time we're looking at a cruiser, can we look at also, can you do prices on getting one that's fully outfitted, not always converting old equipment into a new technology, into a new car? I can't remember if you did that last time or not.
The current cruiser, the last cruiser we purchased was fully equipped. Sorry, go.
With everything it needed, it didn't need transfer of anything old, or?
Well, some of the stuff like our radar units, they do transfer over to the new cruisers from the old. Our laptop computers are transferred over. The watch guard cameras and body camera equipment is transferred over. And some of that stuff is new. Some of it is older, and most of it is extremely expensive. In the past, we have applied for grants to try to purchase new equipment. Sergeant Moody has been looking at radar units for us, but they're up around $3,000 or $4,000 a piece. So we can absolutely look at it and propose what those items would cost to equip a brand new one fully equipped. I would anticipate that would be probably $15,000 to $17,000 extra would be a guess.
Okay, I get it. I just, you know what I'm talking about with these. At some point, certain things are not going to convert with a new vehicle. We're gonna have to keep them modern and cycle that in.
If you would like, I can add all that in so you can see what that would cost.
I would appreciate it. I would like to see that because things are changing very fast in the automobile world, and we're going to have to keep up.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Kathy?
I have a question for Sean or David too. I've had quite a few people this past week complain, and I'm not sure if anything can even be done, but it's the parking along Silver Lake. I know a lot of people are fishing this year, and it's become very, very scary because they've been parking from the boat landing almost up to, past where the canoe and boat landing is, past almost up to the power line along the road. And it was pretty scary to drive up through there with cars coming. And I realize there's no place for them to park, but I don't know what else we can do. And they're also parking along the sides of the road, right around the Grindles. There's a sharp corner there. They're parking there and all along the roads, and it's kind of scary. I don't know if we have any parking bans or anything like that. I don't know what to tell people. I just told them I would pass it on.
Got that. Absolutely, we can take a look at that. I know during ice fishing season,
And I know that.
Offloading ATVs or snow sleds to fish, trailers and pickup trucks, it becomes a problem. So we can look at it. I would encourage people to give us a call if there's a tremendous overflow, and we will address it as we can. Other than that, maybe we could get some signs.
Post the corners and stuff.
Yeah.
It's the corners that's really, especially when I came up over the road right past the boat landing, and there was cars coming down, and neither one of you had a place to go.
The other thing that we can look to do is we can add that. We have our Facebook social media page. We could absolutely post something and encourage people to not park there.
And I feel bad bringing this up because, it's just a short season and it's ice fishing and there's families and people are enjoying it. And I love seeing that out there because I've been out there snowshoeing and seeing people smile and laugh and have a good time. If we could just get them off the corners, if they could park someplace other than the corners.
Do you find that it's worse on the weekends when people are fishing more heavily?
Oh, Sunday was really bad.
Okay, so we have temporary parking signs. Of course, the ground is frozen, but if we can find a way to post them on the weekends in those spots, maybe that will...
Just in the bad corners would help, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jimmy, do you have something?
Yes, a citizen of the town asked me about the flying of the flag on Flag Point, and also down by the museum. Said he didn't see any flags flying down there and wondering if there was a reason.
So you're muted, I believe.
I know, Jimmy, we've never flown them through the winter months. We've always taken them down. I guess maybe Sean can talk about that because I don't handle that anymore.
Yeah, to my knowledge, we've always taken that down during the winter, because it does get tattered and beat up down there, so I don't know that we've ever flown the big one at all during the winter down there. The one by the Historical Society, I think that's something, Jim, that we could certainly look at and put that one back up. But the bigger one, I don't know that we've ever done that with. But we can look at the other one for sure.
Thank you. I will relay that to the gentleman that inquired. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything? Sue, did you get any phone calls or emails?
No,
All right.
neither.
All right. Danny, you leaned forward. You got something, or are you just waiting? Next item is upcoming public hearings or committee assignments. I believe we want to do another baseball wall before our next council meeting again. Does that work for you, Ed?
Yep, that works.
Or no, not before the next meeting, right, Sue? After
After set up
After
the
the next-
engineer.
Yes, yeah. So we'll wait until our next council meeting.
Set that date.
Set that date. I believe that's all we have for anything upcoming, other than we've already set the one for April 8th, correct? Yep. All right. Last item is adjournment. Take a motion.
Make a
Motion
motion
to
to adjourn.
Chief,
Second.
you got something? Is he all set? Is he?
No, I'm good.
Oh, all right. Nope.
Man,
You
I
stand,
just
you
get
stand
ready
up. You
to
stand up like that. I thought you were coming after me.
Now I'm getting ready to turn the computer off. Maybe I was in a hurry.
Jimmy, do you have something? Oh, okay. All those in favor? Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Night all.
Have a good night.
Good night.